Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is WatchArc. My name is Simone. I am a 22-year-old Italian broke watch enthusiast. And in today's video we're going to be talking about watch collecting mistakes. But first I have to tell you a couple of things. First of all, I don't see myself as someone that knows everything about watches, and this video is not made to teach you how to build your watch collection, okay? I am someone that has started watch collecting a couple of years ago, so I have made my fair share of mistakes. This video is just a list of the things that I wish I had done differently. So yeah, don't take what I say for gold, obviously, but don't make your buying decision around what I have to say in this video, because you might enjoy something that I didn't enjoy owning. So this is completely subjective, as all of the watch collecting is. There is nothing which is true 100%. A watch might be bad for me, might be good for you, so this is just a list of things that I have done poorly in my opinion, so you might want to avoid these things if you agree with me. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first watch collecting mistake that I would like to address in today's video is going to be: don't buy watches based on other people's opinion. This is not really a mistake, but more of an advice, but stick with me, okay? There are some watches that the watch collecting world in general tends to say they're good, okay? There are watches that are objectively good. Like the Seiko 5 range, for me, it's a great starting point for a lot of people because it's automatic, so you have that little new thing, and they're generally well made, well built, well executed. In my opinion, I like the designs. But some people don't really enjoy the design of Seiko 5s, and I have mean that before trying it out. I was someone that said, yeah, Seiko 5, great specs, but the designs are boring, and well, I tried one out and I fell in love with it, so it doesn't really make sense. But I see the point of people saying, yeah, no, I prefer to buy like Vostok watches, which are much more funky. It all depends on your style, on your idea of what a watch has to do to be a good watch. I see some people going down the path of this watch is good, and if you disagree with me, you are stupid, and that doesn't make sense. Watches are not objectively good, because a watch can have objectively bad specs, but it can be objectively bad to wear, because we are 2021 and we don't tell time on our watches if we are dependent on it, okay? So specs like timekeeping and all of that are cool because they're cool, but it's not something that we really need. So besides all this rant I have done right now, what I want to say is, if the whole world of watch collecting is telling you start your collection with, I don't know, a 5KX, and you dislike the look, the feel, everything about the 5KX, don't feel like you need to do that, because those people know more. Those people know more about watches maybe, but they don't know more about you, so you might not connect with a Seiko 5 or a 5KX, as I said, or whatever. So do your own buying decisions, don't let other people fool you. Which is not to say that you shouldn't listen to advice. Like, if you are interested in a watch and you want to ask for advice to your favorite YouTuber, Instagram account, or whatever, or your friend, just ask them. Maybe they are more experienced than you, so they can answer your questions. But don't make your buying decisions only because other people around you know more about watches. The second thing that I feel I have done wrong during my watch collecting time is over accumulating. So when you first start buying watches, you get super excited, okay? You start to buy a lot of watches, which is fun and is useful to understand what kind of watch you tune in with more. So it's good to buy a couple of dive watches, a couple of dress watches, and you might have a sense of what fits your style, your everyday life better, and that's great. But besides of that, that process of overbuying watches, buying a lot of watches, is not always positive, because you buy a lot of watches, you get a lot of watches that you probably like a lot, but others that you don't really like. And yes, you can sell them and get the money back, but it's not really an easy process, and you lose money in the process. So what I want to say is, yes, buy a lot of watches, experiment with your watch collecting, and yeah, but keep in mind that sometimes it's better to wait and buy maybe a better watch than buying two watches that are, yeah, average. Okay, so maybe you want to buy I don't know, a Mako 2 and a Bambino by Orient. Those are great watches, but combined those are around 300-400 euros, and with 400 euros you can buy great watches. So keep in mind that you might want to not buy 20 watches in 2 months like a lot of people do, and I have done that too. And yeah, it's a regret of mine, because I could have waited, I could have bought better watches that I liked more, and so that would have made much more sense in my opinion. So keep in mind that you don't have to own 12 watches right away. You can own 2 watches, you can own 1 watch and be a watch collector. You don't have to feel like, oh my god, I own just 1 watch, I'm not a watch collector. Yes, you are. Collecting means having things, so 1 is already a collection in my opinion, but I digress. So what I want to say is, of course, buy whatever you want, but keep in mind, sometimes a watch purchase is not done because you really need or enjoy that watch, but just because you feel like you have to own it. So keep that in mind. Let's go to advice number 3, which is, weirdly, for me, the most important. When buying a watch, you have to keep in mind this is a hobby. So be a decent person and don't judge people based on their watches that they wear. We all like to make fun of like Invicta watches, big, ubiquitous 46mm Invicta watches, and it's funny. I'm smiling right now, so you know, it's funny to make fun at those watches, but don't make fun of the people. Be a good person. This is the most wholesome community that I have ever seen. There are a lot of toxic people, but toxic people are everywhere, so you can't escape those. But in general, in watches, I have seen a couple of watch snobs, but overall, we are a great community, but let's keep it that way. Don't ruin it, okay? If you see a post on Instagram, on Reddit, on YouTube, someone expressing an opinion that is different from yours, you don't have to shut up. Obviously, you can express your own opinion, but be a decent person while doing that, because it makes your watch collecting process much more enjoyable, I assure you. Because when you associate negativity towards this hobby, it becomes pretty boring. It becomes something that you just use to make yourself look better, and it's not fun. It's not a fun process to watch collect in that way, in my opinion. So be a good person. Don't ruin watch collecting for others, and most of all, don't ruin watch collecting for you, because by insulting others, by judging others based on their watch collecting decisions, you are ruining your own watch collecting and your own watch collecting process. The last piece of advice that I want to give you, they have now become advice, haven't they? Well, they were mistakes at the beginning, now they're advice, I guess. Don't worry, stick with me guys, please. The last piece of advice I want to give you is get comfortable with the idea of selling and returning watches. To me, it's super important, and it's something I feel like I should do more. I feel like I don't do that enough, but when buying a watch, don't feel like that's it, okay? If you fell out of touch with that watch, if you don't connect with it in the beginning, it's even better because you can return it. But there's no shaming selling a watch. It's just that you didn't like it. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to sell it because I bought it. Doesn't make sense to keep a watch in your watch box and never use it. Use that money to buy another watch, to buy whatever, or to use it for a trip or yourself. You do whatever you want, but don't keep those money there just because you're uncomfortable with the idea of selling watches. Get used to that, okay? Because it changes your watch collection completely, because you are now able to exchange watches. So you buy a watch, you don't really connect with it, you exchange it for another one that you may be connected with more, and you spend just the original amount of money, and that's it. So get comfortable with the idea of returning watches, of selling watches, because it's going to change the way you see watch collecting in general. There are people that don't do that, and that's fine. If you have the budget, by no means go for it. There are people that think a lot about the watch purchases, so they don't have to sell watches because they already know they like them a lot. But if you find yourself in the situation of owning a watch that you don't wear ever, sell it, because it's going to change the way you look at watch collecting. So guys, this is it for this week's video. I hope it's been useful. As I said, I don't see myself as someone that knows everything, so if you disagree with me, that's super great. Comment down below why you disagree with me. If you agree with me, okay. If you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and like the video itself. For me, it's all for today. This has been Watch Arc. My name is Simone. I am a 22-year-old Italian broke watch enthusiast.